Don't call it a comeback. We've been here for years.
We're back.
We're back. We're back. Let me stop.
Oh,
Why do you co-host with me? Look, I am embarrassing.
oh, Jaybe, you got a haircut?
Yeah, I got this went right before I went for my grandmother's funeral.
I thought your hair looked different.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm feeling myself now. Oh. Hey everybody, welcome to the Sabby and Jaybe show here on Revolutionary Blackout Network. So good to see you guys on this beautiful, bright and happy Tuesday. Except for some of y'all in New York, I feel so sorry for y'all. It looked like 1,000 Snoop Dogs came into y'all city and suddenly lit up. I'm telling you, that's how it looks. Look, in New York right now, it's like Mad Max Fury Road out there.
That's what it looks like.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's
y'all.
weird. It skipped over us. It skipped over Massachusetts because it's not like that here.
Right? And where's Smokey the Bear when you need him? Only you can prevent forest fires. I don't know. Look, Smokey the Bear, he's big, round, and brown. I'm big, round, and brown. So, hey, you know what I mean? But welcome to the show. Just to let you guys know, every single Thursday that Sabby and Jaybe show is here on RBN, so you guys can always tune into that. Also on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, you can always tune in to Sabby Sab's podcast, as well as her show on RBN on Fridays at 6 p.m. And then you can see me on the Jaybe show on Sundays at 1 p.m. and on my channel, on the Jaybe Font channel, on Tuesdays at 2. Also, just to let you guys know, thank you so much to all the patrons on Patreon, as well as the members. Yes, we do have $3.99 memberships if you guys would like to join. We also have those as well. And thank you to everyone who's also been donating to the RBN GoFundMe as well, in order to help pay for our graphics designer, Aaron. So thank you so very much. And if you guys would like to, you guys can actually help us out with our graphics designer, Aaron. You guys can go Venmo at Revolutionary Blackout and then Cash App at $Mutual Aid Forever. And I will be posting that up again later in the show. So thank you so very much. Also, if you guys would like to, you guys can actually go to our Substack at revolutionaryblackout.substack.com to get email notifications so you guys are aware and made privy to whenever we do go live and have clips. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to go really fast through the hellos and salutations because we have a lot to get to. And I really, this is going to be a kind of an abbreviated show today because Sabby has a huge guest this evening, by the way. Let them know what you got coming up this evening, Sabby.
Yeah, Cornel West is coming back on my channel tonight. He'll be on at 8 p.m. Eastern time, and we're going to talk about his presidential campaign. So don't miss that.
Yep, don't miss it. So just to let you guys know, we're going into the chat right now. Hello to Sean Miller saying we have Bryce Smith saying glad to see you two back together for Thursday's show. Yes, thank you. All right, we have Rick Solis coming in saying, hey, y'all, good to see you. RIP George Habash says, JB, how did stream with Pasta go? It went really good. He said, I missed it. I was busy watching RBN. That's fine. You guys, you can always watch it on a rewatch. It was a really great conversation. We talked about some of the similar things regarding Dr. Cornel West on there. So you'll get me, Jose Vega, and Reef Breland. And I forgot the lady's name that was joining us. I forget her name. I'm sorry. But, you know, the four of us, you get our perspective in it as well, which is great. Nick is in the chat. RBN alum. Alum. Why did I say alum? Maybe because Sabby's right in front of me. Anyways, good to see you, Nick. All right. I'm still in that graduation mind, you know what I mean? All right, you have Tammy T coming in saying, good evening, all. I live in New York. Why we now calling it Hell, New York? Damn. Not Kel's Kitchen. We have Eric coming in saying, happy Thursday, peeps. Good to see you. All right. And then we have Yepek saying, making myself Girl Scout Thin Mint Coffee Mint Smoothie with frozen yogurt. Sounds
Ooh.
delicious. All right. And then let me check on The Rock. All right. We got a couple people watching. They're a little shy right now. All right. So, and yes, please hit the like button as well. Thank you so very much for that, Eric. Eric be doing the most in a good way. Thank you so very much. Now, to our subject today. What are we going to be talking about? Now, this has been developing over the last week about Roger Waters, and it says under fire. That's why it's called Waters Under Fire. See what I did there? And so this is going to be interesting. You're going to wonder why you see the Palestinian flag and the Israeli flag between them both. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, Sabby, you've been talking about the issues surrounding RFK Jr. and how he had support for Roger Waters, but then he recanted that support for Roger Waters because of the, how can I put it, the misconception that Roger Waters is anti-Semitic. And you've been talking about that on your show. If you can give me some of your thoughts about his taking back of that support.
I think it's weak on RFK Jr.'s part. And I think that, Max Blumenthal has publicly invited him to come onto the gray zone and have that discussion with him. For those who are not aware, Max Blumenthal is Jewish. So I think it would be great for him to have that discussion with Max. I'm not sure what is going to, there's a lot going on here. I know I've reached out to RFK Jr.'s team. I was told I was in a queue, and then I found out today they said, you're in the queue, but we have more requests than space right now. We'll keep you posted. It's just, I don't really think that's the case. I know people personally that reached out way after I did. I reached out the week of his announcement. And they've already interviewed him. It has nothing to do with channel size or anything like that. I think it is because I have been critical of him about his position in reference to Israel and Palestine. And it just is what it is. At this point, it seems like he doesn't want to have that discussion. So we'll see. I mean, maybe he will go on to the gray zone and have that discussion with Max. But I don't know. I haven't seen him go onto a left show yet. And Breaking Points is not a left show. For people who are like, what about Breaking Point? That's not left. So I think, I think there may be some fear there.
Yeah, that's a great analysis by you, because it does feel weak. In fact, just to get everybody, a background of exactly what was said. Here's earlier in the week, actually, what RFK Jr. said, and this is from Pasta from Convo Couch. He actually was the one who was asking this question, and I'm glad he did. And so let's go.
Mr. Kemi, a lot of people are confused about the tweet storm. I call it the tweet heard around the world. A couple of tweets were put up in support of Roger Waters and then taken down. Do you want to give us a little explanation of why they were taken down, and also your stance on Israel and Palestine?
Yeah, I tweeted that. I made the tweet applauding Roger Waters' courage in opposing the COVID mandates and the Ukraine war. I was unaware of his position on Israel. And when I learned that, I immediately took it down. My position of Israel is that I support Israel. My family has a long relationship with Israel. I support its right to exist and its right to protect its security.
And the Palestinians?
And a humane outcome and a recognition ultimately of the aspirations of the Palestinian people is important for everybody.
Thank you.
Can I say something really quick?
Sure.
Notice that was Dennis Kucinich there in the background. Dennis Kucinich is his campaign manager. He's a former congressman. He was the one that was pushed out by the Democratic Party because they redrew his district so that he wouldn't have one. That's how they got him out. Dennis Kucinich, for him to stand there and not even flinch or push back on this particular issue is very concerning, because Dennis Kucinich has spoken out against this issue before. So it's very strange to me that he's RFK Jr.'s campaign manager and he's not saying anything in reference to this. This is very suspect, in my opinion.
Yeah, the response by him, and I actually tweeted, in response to this, was the aspirations of Palestinians. I'm like, what in the world does that mean? From what I understand, and I know some people who are Palestinian would correct me if I'm wrong, but Palestinians are indigenous to Gaza, and because they're indigenous, and you have settler colonial project like Israel that's there, then the indigenous people in that area have a right to defend themselves. And so for people like RFK Jr. to take the side of the colonizer, well, just ask any indigenous American here in this country about how they feel about people colonizing their lands. In fact, ask people who are indigenous to South Africa about how they feel about apartheid in their land as well. My question to people like RFK Jr., as well as to Marianne Williamson, is how do you feel about the apartheid South Africa and how people were treated then? And how do you reconcile being against apartheid South Africa, but being in support of the settler colonial project in Israel and in Gaza, really? Like, how do you reconcile those two? Because it sounds to me like it's a it's a hypocritical position, because
And
you're saying, I'm sorry, go ahead.
that's a question I would ask him. See, that's the thing. That's a question that I would ask him. It just seems like to me he seems to be mainly avoiding this topic. I mean, RFK Jr. has done a number of interviews by now, right? But it is really weird to me that he's willing to go back and forth on breaking points with Crystal Ball about the jab. I'm not gonna get into all that, or he's willing to go on to CNN that is smearing him. He's willing to go on to like mainstream media shows. He's willing to go into right-wing spaces and have these interviews as well. But they're not asking him about this issue. And this is something I want people to pay close attention to. Max Blumenthal gave him the invitation. To be fair, Max would be better to have the conversation than me.
Yeah.
I'm just keeping it real. He would be better to have the conversation than me because he is Jewish. But it's just really weird. It's weird to me. It seems like they're avoiding trying to have this discussion.
Yeah, but the thing is that this is a humanitarian issue that they need to address, especially if you're running to be the commander in chief of this country. This is something that you need to be able to answer to, because the thing is that Palestinian lives are being threatened day in and day out. Palestinian lives are being, people are being massacred in that area. You remember the journalist Shireen Abdul Ekleh. She was murdered by Israeli forces. And it's like, oh, well, a stray bullet. Yeah, bullshit. And so the thing is that, are you guys going to continuously make excuses for that? I think that is a really good question, because the thing is that what Palestinians are going against is basically an open air prison, right? Palestine is the hood. They made it into that. And so any Black person, especially, that is watching RBN, keep abreast of what's going on across the world, especially when it comes to U.S. foreign policy, because U.S. foreign policy eventually will affect you at home. And so this is why it's important to pay attention to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Should I say conflict? It means there's an equality on both sides. It's really a bashing of Palestinian lives, by the behest of the state of Israel.
Yep.
But let me go to this also. There's a couple statements that were made. I'm going to go to the shorter statement first, and then we'll get into Roger Waters' statement. So we're going to, we're not going to make it extremely long, but we're going to talk about it as well. So let me share my screen really quick. And this is from the Anne Frank Trust. So Anne Frank Trust says Pink Floyd sang, quote, "We don't need no education," end quote. But clearly Roger Waters needs educating about prejudice and anti-Semitism. It is wildly inappropriate to misuse Anne Frank's legacy. Here at the Anne Frank Trust, our young people learn from Anne Frank and the Holocaust, empowering them to challenge prejudice. We invite Roger to meet with us and do the same. This feels, I'm gonna be honest with you, this feels like a targeted attack.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this feels like. Let me also share, because this gentleman actually invited RFK Jr. To march with him during a parade for Israel. This is Rabbi Shmuley. So I think you shared this on your channel. I think so.
Yeah.
So I'm going to read this really quick. It says, Rabbi Shmuley Botich today met with Democratic presidential candidate Robert Kennedy Jr. and discussed Israel, the rise of anti-Semitism, the Kennedy's recent tweet where he supported Roger Waters. Quote, "It was courageous of Bobby to come and meet me and reassert his lifelong support of Israel and the Jewish people, continuing in the legacy of his great father who was murdered by Palestinian gunman Shireen because of his own support of Israel in 1968, end quote. Rabbi Shmuley and Kennedy discussed the volatile situation in the Middle East and the challenges facing America for more than 2 hours. Kennedy explained that his tweet about Waters was in response to someone sharing with him a picture that Waters flashed of Kennedy at one of his concerts, saluting the candidate's willingness to swim against the societal currents. Quote, "Bobby told me that he had no idea that Waters was a vicious anti-Semite, allegedly. And when he studied the issues and the facts, he immediately deleted the tweet. I believe Bobby and thank him for his repudiation of Waters. How tragic it is for Waters to have this legacy as an anti-Semite now overtake his legacy as an accomplished artist." Kennedy said that his dedication to Israel and security is unshakable and unalterable. He also said that he reserves the right to challenge some of his policies, for example, as an environmentalist with regard to water rights. Rabbi Shmuley agreed that the beauty of Israel, as opposed to all of its neighbors, is that it is an open democracy with free press and, just like America, welcomes criticism. Kennedy and Botich discussed the Holocaust and the existential and genocidal threats facing the Jewish nation, and Kennedy once again affirmed his profound commitment to Israel's security. Quote, "I told Bobby that his father was one of Israel's greatest friends, and we in the Jewish community mourn him till this day. I then asked him to please march with me this Sunday, June 4th, at the annual Celebrate Israel parade, and he immediately agreed. The conversation was riveting. While we disagreed on many issues, he speaks with a refreshing and nonpartisan candor. I look forward to marching this Sunday with champion the Middle East only democracy and the world's only Jewish state." Okay. So there they are.
Mm-hmm.
And they're basically categorizing Roger Waters as an anti-Semite.
But they've never explained how.
Exactly. And the thing is that does this criticism hold water? And from what I observe, it does not. So there's a video from Double Down News where Roger Waters addresses it directly. And I think, before we get into it, Sabby, how do you think Roger Waters handled it, in your opinion?
I think he handled it okay, considered, how he's been attacked recently and all the people that are coming after him and smearing him. And, it's just, some of the things that the rabbi said kind of don't go along with what RFK Jr. has said publicly. Because like even publicly, RFK Jr. said he doesn't believe that Sirhan was responsible for his dad's death, which is the opposite of what the rabbi said. So there seems to be some, I don't know. I don't know if this is on purpose or not, but Max Blumenthal explained on Rising that he knows RFK Jr. and he said that RFK Jr. Knows exactly what he's doing, and he knows that this is not true about Roger Waters. But that's RFK Jr. for you folks.
Yeah. So let's get into this and let's show. And please, just let me know whenever I need to stop because I won't be able to see you while I'm doing this. But let's start.
My story is yet another story of cancel culture. Why are they trying to cancel Roger Waters? Why aren't there real journalists going, hang on a minute, this is bullshit. Maybe I'll call up and see what he has to say. Why aren't you? Piers Morgan, eh? Fucking Andrew, what's his name? Andrew Marr, eh? Ooh, don't get me started. Ignore all the newspapers because that's all fake news. They are not printing the story in any way that is even-handed. Some fucking Labour MP in Manchester, Christian Wakefield. This is a guy who was a Tory and he's now switched sides. He's now in Sir Keir Starmer's Labour Party. I hope I meet you face to face in Manchester when I do my gig there because you, Christian, I've forgotten your name already, and I will permanently soon because you're scum. You are trying to get me banned from performing in Manchester. Me, the bloke that wrote Dark Side of the Moon and Wish You Were Here and Animals and The Wall and The Final Cut. And I'm really proud of it. And it's a huge body of work. And he wants to cancel my rock and roll show for my brothers and sisters in Manchester. It's insane. If we shout the lie loud enough, Roger Waters is an anti-Semite, we'll be all right. We'll get people to believe it. We can vilify him. We can probably destroy him. And we will get him in the end. Well, no, you won't. Because it is a lie. You can gather as many fucking morons together as you want to repeat your lie, but it remains a vicious lie. The narrative that I'm an anti-Semite and that I'm promoting fascism by wearing a leather coat and that I'm heavy symbols, which are crossed hammers, by the way, not swastikas or anything that is literally Nazi, Third Reich, German. 40 years I've been doing, 40 years. Every single year almost between 1980 and now, I've been doing bits of that show. Why?
So my question is, if he's been doing it for 40 years, why is it a problem now?
Because there has now been increased pressure to go after people who don't, outright say that they support the state of Israel. And I think some of that pressure is coming from the US government. I think some of it's coming from the Biden administration. But I think some of it's also coming from the media, particularly after the situation with Kanye West and Kyrie Irving. So now it's like you can't criticize it all. It's like people have really started to exaggerate the term anti-Semitic and what that really means.
Yeah. Let's continue.
Now, why suddenly now would people be picking up and going, he's wearing a replica of a Nazi uniform on stage. He's obviously glorifying the Third Reich and Nazism. He's doing that as part of his general attitude, which is that he hates Jewish people. All over, all the press in the Western world, everything, Roger Waters, anti-Semite, glorifying Nazism, wearing a thing. Okay, well, if we could deconstruct that a little bit. In my piece, The Wall, at the end of the fascist bit, in the film, it's Bob Geldof, when he's the fascist leader, he's singing all this stuff, which I wrote, about who they are, the forces of evil. and they're in the song Waiting for the Worms. They're waiting to take over the world, waiting to cut out the deadwood.
All right, let me, because I don't want us to get a copyright strike. Even though we're defending Roger Waters, I don't want to get a copyright strike.
And rule the world. That's why he tries himself in the trial. He tries himself for having become a Nazi. So how you can transmogrify this work of theatre into me glorifying the Third Reich and Nazism beggars belief. Don't get me wrong. I may be shouting and I may seem powerful and whatever, but I'm still really upset. I can't believe that they're trying to do this to me.
I can.
Yeah. My thing is, it's like, if you're going to come after Roger Waters for satire, then you also need to go after Ray Fiennes for the role that he played in Schindler's List. Go after Ray Fiennes.
If we're talking about art, if we're talking about entertainment, then what about all the movies about slavery?
Yep.
But see, they don't mention Black people like that, though. You know, they don't all come together to support like Black people and our plight in this country. They don't come together for that. It's always other groups. And this is something I want people to really pay close attention to, because I've been noticing this over a while. It's like every other group can receive this amount of tremendous support and empathy and cancel culture. And I'm not saying people need to be canceled, but when it comes to African Americans, you never see them come out with this type of tremendous support for the Black community. The closest we probably got to that in my lifetime was the George Floyd protest. And then nothing came of that on a national level.
Yeah.
So I think, it's just something I think people need to pay attention to. It's like, you know, but the lobby is the big problem, JB. The lobby, it's the lobby groups like AIPAC who put up all this money against like progressive candidates, any candidate that doesn't support the state of Israel, not the people, but the state of Israel in reference to this issue with Israel and Palestine. The AIPAC lobby will come out and come up against you. That's why Maxwell Frost changed his position. So he didn't want to get attacked by that lobby as well. So I think this is a recurring thing. Now it's like, if you're running for office and you don't, you know, announce whether or not you support, like you directly support the state of Israel, then they're going to come after you with PAC money and the media is going to smear you. And even for people like Summer Lee, who said that she supported, you know, both of their rights, Israel and Palestine, they even still came after her. So that this is what is happening now. This is basically apartheid. And I don't understand how so many people are just going along with this.
Yeah, I think it's ruthless. And, you know, it's like they try to, you know, shut down anybody who is speaking out against the rights of Palestinians. That's basically like, well, I'll let Roger Waters explain it, because he gives what he thinks is the issue. And one of the things that I wanted to also say is, like, for instance, you know, if we're going to criticize people for their depiction in art, you know, while they don't support, you know, anti-Semitism, Christoph Waltz played a Nazi officer. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is, like, if you're going to do that, if you're going to go after people for, you know, artistically speaking out against fascism, you know, it doesn't make any sense. So
Brad Pitt too.
Yep. All right. So
yeah. I mean, clearly, well, you can hear in my voice, clearly, I'm upset beyond all measure to be called these names. They're deeply, deeply, deeply insulting, not just to me, but to my family, and particularly to my mother and father. My father died at
Oh, I can't hear anything. Uh-oh. Oh, JB, I think you froze. I can't hear anything. I think it froze. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Well, this is where Roger Waters is talking about how his father was killed fighting Nazis. So, I mean, you know, somebody who is actually, you know, fighting for the liberation of you know, Jewish people, and you know, he has a lot of respect for his father, you know, and so it's like, you know, it just lays the case of how can you call him anti-Semitic when his, you know, he has a lot of respect for his father, and his father was basically an anti-fascist.
Yep.
You know. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead a little bit too. So. Yeah. Sorry, I gotta refresh.
That's the only thing about the Twitter videos. I know they do that. I hate that.
Push.
Yeah. I think it's because of my internet. That's probably what it is.
When he was in Pink Floyd. What evidence is there to support this? Oh, fuck it, I don't care. Hang on a minute. Isn't he that bloke who wrote all those songs when he was in Pink Floyd? What evidence is there to support this? Oh, fuck it, I don't care. I'll just go and say it. The fact that people are complaining about me mentioning Anne Frank and Shireen Abu Akleh in the same show, actually in the same song. It's a song called Powers That Be. And I put up the names of victims of violence from all over the world, like George Floyd, right? Blair Peach in England. Everywhere I went in North America, I put up one name from that town. Every town you go to in America, there's somebody who's been murdered by the state or the local police. So when I get to Germany, it's not hard for me to pick some German names. She's there because I'm in Germany. So that the local people, oh, good, he does notice that it's not just the Americans who are murdering their own people. We were murdering our own. Sophie Skoll, she was a 19, 20-year-old girl in Munich in 1943, who, with her brother Hans Skoll and a friend Christopher Probst, they started a movement called the White Rose Movement, and they...
Sabs, you know, it's crazy. Like,
Well, there's no problem with him mentioning Anne Frank, but there's a problem with him mentioning Shireen.
Yeah. And it's like, why would there be a problem? Because the thing is that if she's being murdered, you know, for being a journalist, like, do we believe in actual journalism or don't we?
That's a good question. They don't really see it. To me, it feels like they don't even see the Palestinian people as people. They don't even look at them as human.
Yeah, you know what? That's part of the problem. And my thing is, if you're going to be mad about Jamal Khashoggi being murdered by the Saudi Arabian, you know, the powers in Saudi Arabia, and you're not mad about Shireen Abu Akleh, then you're not serious to me. Because the thing is that he was a journalist that was murdered by an oppressive regime. And guess what? She was murdered by a member of oppressive regime. So guess what? What's the difference? Because they're both journalists that were actually speaking out against, you know, either Saudi Arabia or the state of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to sit here and talk about Shireen and not hold her at the same, you know, regard as, you know, as Jamal Khashoggi? Because what happened to Jamal Khashoggi shouldn't have happened. What happened to Shireen shouldn't have happened. And yet we make a fuss about one, but not the other.
But again, I don't think they see them. I think they see them as like second class citizens. You know, it kind of reminds me of the way that people feel about Black death in the United States. Like there doesn't seem to be as much sympathy or empathy when a Black person is murdered, but there is more so when it's a white person. So I think, again, this goes back to something Josana used to say all the time, is that you have to decolonize your mind. And I think that, like, this is a big part of the thing. It's like, if you can complain about South Africa's apartheid issues in their regime, if you can praise Nelson Mandela, for his fight against apartheid in South Africa, but at the same time, you are supporting apartheid in the state of Israel, you're a hypocrite.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, look, they listed the African National Congress, the ANC, as a terrorist group. You know, they're doing the same thing with Hamas until the pressure got so high that they were like, okay, fine, the ANC is all right, fine. The people who are fighting against apartheid, they're not so bad.
And this is why, like, even that two-state solution, we were informed by the Palestinian network that even that's not a viable option, because the Palestinian people, like, they're basically living in ghettos. Like, they don't have the resources. So if you want to implement this type of separate but equal, doctrine, it's not going to benefit the Palestinian people, because obviously they're in the minority and they have less resources. So while it may be separate, it's not going to be equal. And have we learned nothing from that in the United States? Like, that's the thing that really, bothers me, is it's like not nobody, but most people are not looking at it that way. They're just like, well, whatever. They're not supposed to be here. Says who?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, let's continue. We've got a couple more minutes before we have to wrap up.
Theatrical piece, the wall, all over the world. Belgium, one night, and there is a pig, and it has a number of symbols on it, including the crucifix and the star and crescent. The Star of David is only part of a group of symbols that represent dogma. And I started getting complaints coming in. You're being anti-Semitic, you're blah, 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 blah. Well, no, I'm not. Oh, but you're really upsetting Jewish people. So I thought about it, and I thought, there might be something in there. I can imagine some little old lady somewhere in Belgium who might see this and think, I can feel them going, because it really, really upsets them to see the symbol of their religion on this balloon. So I scrubbed it out immediately. We'd done 5 gigs. That was in early 2013. And then now they're saying that I've done it at every single show I've ever done, and blah, blah, blah. And nobody ever tells the story that said he got complaints about it, so he scrubbed it out. And when I understand, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Am I going to keep attacking the state of Israel and its policies in the West Bank and in Gaza? Yes, I am. And I will until the day I die.
And that's why they're coming after him.
That's right. And one thing I want to mention too, people may not be aware, it's not just about the religion. I know one of the criticisms is that they want that religion to, run the state, which, in other words, not having separation of church and state, that type of thing. But it's not just about the religion. And I say this because if that were the case, then what about the Ethiopian Jews? There are Ethiopian Jews that are also in Israel. Some of them were born in Israel, and they are also being pushed out by the state of Israel. So that's the other thing too. And this isn't talked about as much. It's not just the Palestinian people. There are also Ethiopian Jews who were born in Israel that are also being taunted and pushed out by the state of Israel as well. So it's not even just about the religion. It is about having like this pure, ethno state. That's what it's about. There's a racial component to this as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Let's do just a little bit more, and then we can wrap up.
That was an interesting place to pause it, JB.
Yeah, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean it. Sorry, Roger. Oh, all right, go again.
Gripe, but there's nobody saying that. The police are there egging them on. So cancel culture is trying to get you to believe that in some weird way, my defense of the people of Palestine is more violent than the young thugs kicking Palestinians to death, or the IDF soldiers shooting them through the heart with their sniper rifles, like they did on the Great March of Return to that young Palestinian medic. Thousands upon thousands of them. These are just words. And these are my heartfelt, passionate words. A lot of my political ideals are fostered through this, mainly following my mother.
So, in one of the things that he said, and I forgot the place that he said it, but he said one of the reasons why he thinks that people are coming after him is that because of what happened during the Holocaust, to them, Israel can do no wrong now, these, modern times. And the thing is, it's like, yeah, they went through that. But from what it looks like from us on the outside, especially people like me, it's like Israel is turning into the monster that they were suffering under, in Germany in the 1930s and 40s.
That's right. Sometimes the oppressed can become the oppressor.
Yeah.
So it's just because like you were treated wrong doesn't mean you can't treat other people wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, my thing is that I feel bad for Roger Waters going through this, but when you stand up for human rights, you're going to get this type of vitriol from people who are outside of the system like that.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go to Rockfin really quick,
but for people to smear him and call him anti-Semitic, it's just ridiculous, because the thing is like they have not pointed out why they think that he is. It's just, he had this concert, and then they misrepresented like what he did at the show. Like it's really a mess. And also this speaks to the issue of censorship as well. Here we go again, where what can you say? What can you do? Like,
yeah. All right. So thanks to Roger for this tip. Roger says, you did 18 NWA and others, but this time Aaron can RBN the FF. I don't know what that is.
what?
I'm not sure. The two on screen right can now be Susan Storm. Oh, Fantastic Four. Oh my gosh. You did 18 NWA, but this time Aaron could RBN the Fantastic Four. Two on screen right now can be Sue Storm and Ben Grimm. Since Reed has gray hair, it could be CJ. Since Nick likes to talk shit, he can be Johnny Storm. And Rome would be Dr. Doom, since he wants to change the world in his image. Aaron, you only have to show Sabs from the neck up, with the rest of her body being invisible. What the hell? Okay, Roger.
That was funny. That's kind of
funny. All right, so I would like to get to the chat, but we really have to get going because Sabby has to get ready for her show with Dr. Cornell West, going to be at 8 p.m., right?
8 p.m. Eastern time. So in about a little over an hour, I'll talk to him about his presidential campaign. I know many people have reached out and said, can you ask this? Can you ask that? I have my list of questions, and that's what I'm going with. But most of the things that you've asked me to ask him was already on the list anyway. But yeah, so looking forward to that.
All right, cool. And thank you so much to everybody for watching. I wish I can get back to the comments, but we have to have an abbreviated show. But before you go, just make sure to like the stream as well. And if you guys have not subscribed, please make sure to subscribe. Also, thank you so much to everybody who has already donated. But if you would like to contribute to our fundraising for our graphics designer, Aaron, you guys can go to Venmo at Revolutionary Blackout or Cash App, $ Mutual Aid Forever. Aaron does amazing work for our graphics. She even did this graphic today. So if you guys would like to, you guys can also help us to keep her being paid, you know, what she would like to be paid, you know, as well. Also, if you guys like to, then you guys can go to our Patreon. Thank you so much to our patrons on Patreon, as well as our members on Coffee. I'm sorry, I'm going to my channel. To our to our memberships, thank you so very much. As well as if you guys would like to get email notifications, you guys can go to our revolutionaryblackout.substack.com for that as well. I am going over time that I wanted to, but Sabby, see you a little bit later. Tune in to my channel this Saturday. I'm going to be having on Kid Cabello from Heartlands Media. And then this Sunday on my channel, I'm going to be having on Kamal Franklin from Black Power Media. So that's going to be a great discussion. So I can't wait. I'm very excited. Anywho, take care. And whatever. Have, like Sabby always says, have a good night. Keep up the fight.